girls, but that's a far cry from assaulting underage girls. He didn't rape anybody. He didn't sleep with teenage boys like how the Hollywood left is making excuses for some out there.
He didn't mess up somebody's blue dress.
Yeah.
In the Oval Office.
I don't want to engage in moral relativism either, but I just don't buy the biggest story about the abuse victim. I believe we've seen these smear jobs before with Herman Cain and others, and even with Donald Trump. And where are the accusers now? After the election, they just dry up and blow away. So
yes.
I don't buy it, and I'm standing by Judge Roy Moore. I sent him another $20 yesterday. I encourage people to go to roymoore.org and contribute to the campaign because the National Senate Committee has dried up his funding.
Yeah, well, I'm going to send some money to Roy Moore as well. So
that's despicable too.
Yeah, and you
tried and convicted without even being in court.
Yeah, and that's the difference, I think, from even 8 years ago to today, right? Herman Cain, as you said, that shouldn't have stuck because those people did just disappear, did they? Mm-hmm. Where are they? Did they actually sue and get anything from Herman Cain? No, it was all a bunch of garbage that they were out there trying to ruin his political career because they too knew that Herman Cain would have drained the swamp, right? And that's what they're afraid of. So this is, and I don't care what side of the aisle they're on, Democrat, moderate, Republican, they're all out there trying to protect their own special interests. And it's that D.C. establishment, folks. They are screwing you, the American taxpayer. That's what's going on. Ask yourself why so many congressmen go in at $170,000 a year but come out millionaires. Listen, it costs $170,000 a year to live in Washington, D.C. That is not a cheap place to live. So don't tell me you're saving up all that money and coming out a millionaire. No, you're not. This is all about the special interests and what they get in behind the scenes. You know what I mean? So let's clean that swamp. Let's put Roy Moore in there, and let's help him support Donald Trump's agenda, because that's our agenda. We're the ones that voted for it.
Yeah, I'm reminded of Clarence Thomas.
I agree with that. I think the rhinos are very quick to get behind this because they want to destroy him and have him out any way possible, that they would be happy to hand it to the Democrat temporarily in order to keep him out. And when I was younger, I was 36. I married a 23-year-old. That was different then.
Right.
And she was 23, obviously. That's different than dating a 16-year-old. But that may be a little creepy, but again, it's a far cry from someone being a sexual predator pedophile.
Right. Well, I'm looking at an article right here from the Daily Drift, of course, and it's the Washington Examiner article. GOP Senators Mike Lee, liberal.
Disappointed in him.
Yes. And Steve Daines, unendorsed Roy Moore after sexual misconduct allegation. You think they would have at least called him, talked to him, and got us some information and facts before they just get out there in front of this and say, oh, yes, step down, I'm unendorsing you because you're whatever. You know what? Mike Lee, you're a coward. You're a coward like Jeff Flake, like John McCain. These are people that are all... And yeah, Mike Lee, you're right. I thought he was going to be a good guy. He turned out to be a real piece of garbage, too. Mm-hmm. Not doing anything in the Senate. Just an anti-Trumper, wasting our time and taxpaying money, sitting in Washington collecting a check. That's what that guy's doing.
You know, I will admit to having been an adulterer and a drug dealer in my youth. Okay? I mean, there's things I did in my youth not proud of. I'm not the same guy. If I was to run for office, somebody might bring up some of those stuff. And I would have to say, you know what, I'm a born-again Christian. My whole life has changed. I'm a different guy. I don't know if that's the situation that Roy Moore finds himself in. We know that he is a conservative Christian now. I don't know when the turning point was for him. He's not playing that card, which I can understand. Most people who aren't Christians wouldn't understand it anyhow. But there are people who change. That may be his situation. I'm not going to hold something against him 40 years ago that shows no pattern in the last 30 years.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, we're talking it was 38, 39, whatever, 40 years ago. We're talking. How about something new? What has he done lately?
Yeah.
Okay. But again, I think, Joe, to your point, There is no rape or allegations like this, just that maybe he dated. And I think age of consent in that state back then was 16. I don't know what it is today. It was down south. I'm just saying.
I heard people from down south say that today in a column I read.
Right.
So, that's just how we acted when we were in.
It is down south, right?
Yeah.
What else you got, Joe? You got any updates for us on Bob Young?
No, nothing as of late. I do know that John James has been heavy on Facebook with 100-day videos, a new video, short video every day for 100 days. And he was endorsed by O'Neill, the guy who killed bin Laden. But it seems to me he's relying so heavily on his military and the military experience. And to me, that is a great plus. But to hang your hat on, that's why you should be sent to the Senate, I don't think cuts it. It may help him in a GOP primary, but it ain't going to help him beat Stabenow.
Right.
Like I told you earlier, Joe, I don't understand why Rob O'Neill stuck his nose in this at all. I don't get that.
Yeah, he's military.
Just a comrade, buddy.
Yeah,
I
brothers
know,
in
but
arms.
it's more a local issue than Rob Neal. You know what I mean? I don't get that.
It's brothers in arms. But I will say this for both our Republican candidates. You're not marketing yourself enough. The fact that you're not here on this show or calling into this show, you don't need an invitation. Just call it in, Bob Young. You could just call it in, and Bob Carr. Now, Bob Carr calls in.
Yeah.
Bob, forgive me, Bob, last week we couldn't squeeze you in, but if you're listening tonight, feel free to call in. At least Bob Carr calls in.
Yeah.
He makes the effort, and I want to see our Republican politicians and candidates make the effort, for crying out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Call into these shows. You can't make it easier than calling into Wham, right? We bend over backwards to get our Republican candidates some airtime. You know what I mean? We want people to know who they are. So it's amazing to me that we don't have them just pestering. Call and be a pest. If you're calling in too much, I'll let you know. Right?
And Bob Young would destroy Debbie Stabenow in a debate, and I don't think James is ready. Bob Young is ready on day one. John James, I hope he sticks it out and will run against Gary Peters. By then, his political acumen will be far better. He'll have better name recognition. I think he will be a better candidate then. He's just not ready for prime time yet.
Right. I agree 100% because we need to get rid of Stabenow and Peters. So I've given my endorsement right now. If I haven't done it before, if you didn't know, Bob Young is the guy. Bob Young is the guy that should be our candidate. I think he's eminently qualified. My only complaint is he's not out marketing himself enough. If I could take Bob Carr's marketing skills and put them into Bob Young, we'd have the perfect candidate. You know what I mean? So I want people to call into the show. If you're running for office, please. The Drift is the place to be.
Yeah.
We'll help you out. Anything else, Joe?
Well, I hope you'll have Bob Young on again. I know you had talked about having him in studio for a whole hour. That would be great.
Yeah, well, I get on Twitter, and I'm always tweeting his name over to Hannity and Tucker and people at Fox News, and I encourage other people to do it to get him some national airtime because that's important, getting on Fox, right? You get onto those primetime shows, you're going to get more people going, oh, that's a guy that's running for Senate. Well, you know what, Mr. Hannity and Mr. Tucker and Laura Ingraham, get some of these Republican Senate candidates from Michigan here because it's not a lost cause. Bob could easily win Michigan if he gets a little help, and that's what he needs.
Yeah, and John James did have a fluff piece on Fox and Friends in the morning one day, but that's about all it was. Yeah, I know you mentioned Gruber. Gruber's okay, but all his pieces are fluff pieces. John James' interview and others, they're 3-minute talking point segments. They're not in-depth interviews like you guys do.
Yeah, well, luckily we're self-funding here, baby. we owe nobody nothing.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. So,
hard-hitting radio and press journalists here. Yes, that's us.
I'm just a guy with an attitude. That's all. All right. Well, thanks for the call, Joe. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Take care, guys.
See you, Joe.
Yeah. All right. So we got the greatest callers and listeners on the show. We really do. So, but you're right. We need to get these guys out more often. Fox 2 News, I don't know what it takes to get on. Maybe we get Theron in here one day to tell us what does it take to get on the edge, and why aren't they putting Bob Young and Patrick Kolbeck on the edge on Fox 2 News?
That's
because they're scared of them? Because
Theron's
they're scared of the truth?
On the edge. We're talking about
the edge. No.
Let it rip.
Let it rip. There you go. Yeah, on the edge. Well, either way. So do the edge, and then I think they do. I think they do the edge afterward.
Okay.
After the 10 o'clock news, they do an edge on channel. I always thought it was kind of weird that they were stealing Theron's thunder with that show. But anyways, but they need to. Colbeck and Bob Young and Bob Carr and John James, they all need to get on. It's on the edge on whatever. They co-opted. They stole it from Theron.
I see a copyright infringement there.
Okay. Oh, there it is. Let It Rip is the Fox 2 segment. So you're right. All right. So I'm wrong. I thought, isn't there an edge? Check it out, Derek. I know there's some edge thing on Channel 2.
Well, I keep calling Linda's show This American Life. Yeah.
Call that Wait Till Your Father Gets Home. That's what I think about. All right, let's take a call from Jasmine in Chicago. Jasmine, welcome to the show.
Hey, Gary. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you? You want to talk about...
Very good.
Good. You want to talk about Roy Moore?
In a roundabout kind of way. I'm just wondering, am I like the only person, or am I just like completely out of touch? Or I just find it so interesting that nobody seems to realize that the Democrats are basically diverting everything. I mean, not diverting, deflecting. You've got President Trump looking spectacular on a world stage. You've got, all this. He's doing all this, and in the midst of it, the press is harping on a fish.
Yeah.
They're harping on the fact, they're totally ignoring the Menendez embezzlement sex trial.
Yes.
They haven't mentioned the Uranium One scandal.
Wait a minute. Give me a second, Jasmine. I've been meaning to ask this. What happened to the informant, the Uranium One informant, who was supposed to come forward 2 weeks ago, and I hear nobody asking about that guy? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He's probably suffered a self-inflicted 3-shot to the head.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But also, what's going on with the whole Donna Brazil thing? That's been conveniently, they turned on her so quick. And, if that had been a Republican, they would have been screaming racism, misogynistic stuff. I mean, it boggles my mind. And now, just recently, with the whole situation in Virginia, they were harping on it like they won the presidential election. Look at this.
Yeah.
Not everybody likes Trump. See, look what happened in Virginia. Virginia is a blue state.
Yes, and filled with federal workers who depend on the Democrats to get their pay.
Wasn't a Democrat.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, I think your point is well taken. That's the media deflecting from anything good going on. Mm-hmm. And I think it's interesting because when you say Donna Brazil has kind of disappeared, she has disappeared from CNN, from MSNBC, from NBC. Mm-hmm. The only place, and I was kind of struck the other night because she was on Tucker, right? And I think she's been on Hannity. I think she ended up seeing that she wasn't getting the play from the liberal stations, and so she said, I'm going to Fox. And Fox was like, we'll cover it. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So I think Fox has done a good job of covering the Donna Brazil, as they do. Because you know what? They're far more, I won't say they're unbiased, and I won't say they're the best. I will say they're better than the rest.
They're even-handed.
Yeah, they're even-handed. And so Donna Brazil has been on there, and she's been pushing.
I say this to my friends, and granted I don't have a lot of liberal friends because I'm smart, but the few that I do have, I always wonder, and I say to them, I don't understand. You're the mainstream media. You're incredibly liberal. You control 90-something% of coverage, of opinion, of quote-unquote news. But you're so upset about the one conservative network that's out there. I mean, they're trying to take down Fox so badly. Shouldn't you just be satisfied with the 98% of coverage that you do have, that you do own?
Yeah, and of course it's always negative against Trump and conservatives and anything common sense.
Liberals are always for free speech, as long as it's their speech.
Yeah, exactly right.
And the other thing is, like, you've got someone like, say, and I don't like him particularly, in fact, I kind of really dislike him, but that Shepard Smith, he's on Fox.
Well, there's an example.
Yeah.
Fair and balanced.
I don't like him. Do I watch him? Absolutely not. I flip the channel when he comes on. But